There's something I've learned the hard way. People who lie, manipulate, and twist reality don't always come with red flags. Often they come with charm, eye contact, and carefully crafted questions that sound innocent but feel just a little off. You know what I mean? Those moments when your gut whispers, wait, what just happened? We don't talk enough about the way liars hide behind questions, because the right question asked at the wrong moment can be more dangerous than the lie itself. Today, I want to name them 5 questions, 5 patterns, and 5 boundaries we must hold tight. There's a moment that happens before the truth fully lands, before the facts settle, and before the evidence even finishes speaking. It's that moment where you confront someone with something that doesn't add up, and instead of answering your concern, they pause, tilt their head, and say, "Why would I lie?" At first, it sounds like a fair question, even an innocent one. It sounds like they're trying to help you understand that they wouldn't lie because maybe they love you or they respect you or you've known each other for years. But look a little deeper. Listen not just to what's being said, but to what's being done. That question isn't about truth, it's about power. It's a subtle way of turning the spotlight off of them and onto you. Suddenly, it's not about what they did or didn't do, it's about why you would dare to question them in the first place. It's not a question that opens the conversation, it's a question that shuts it down. It puts you on the defensive. It makes you second guess yourself. And that's the trick, that's the trap. You're now trying to justify your concern instead of asking for clarity. You're now managing their feelings instead of your own. Why would I lie is a manipulative question dressed in sincerity. It forces you to look away from the facts and toward your own guilt and doubt. And if you're someone who values connection, who wants to believe the best in people, who leans toward trust over suspicion, this kind of question can be disarming because we want to believe that people close to us wouldn't lie. We want to think our friends, our partners, our coworkers, our mentors are all speaking in good faith, and many are. But the ones who aren't know exactly how to use that hope against you. Here's what I've learned. Someone who truly didn't lie doesn't need to ask why they would lie. They offer context. They welcome clarity. They stay grounded in truth, even when it's uncomfortable. But someone who did lie, or someone who's hiding something, will often lean into emotional manipulation instead of accountability. And when they say, "Why would I lie?" what they really mean is, you should be questioning me. You should be ashamed for even thinking I could do that. It's not a defense of their honesty. It's an attack on your intuition. So when you hear that question, don't answer it. Don't debate it. Don't rush to reassure them. Instead, pause, breathe. Remind yourself that your gut is speaking for a reason, that your concern is valid, that trust isn't something we owe, it's something we build and protect. People who are honest don't fear being asked hard questions. They don't need emotional shortcuts to avoid the truth. If someone's trying to make you feel guilty for asking, they're not being transparent. They're being strategic. And that's not trust, that's control. There is a very specific kind of discomfort that comes when someone looks at you with hurt in their eyes and asks the question, "Don't you trust me?" It can feel like a punch to the gut, because for people who value relationships, for people who want to avoid conflict, for people who carry a deep sense of empathy, this question hits hard. It feels like a test, one you're expected to pass immediately or risk damaging the relationship. But let's slow it down. Let's sit with what's really happening beneath that question. When someone says, "Don't you trust me?" in response to being questioned or held accountable, it's not an invitation to connect or to clarify. It's not about mutual understanding. What it often is, though, is a form of emotional pressure. It's a way of shifting the focus away from their behavior and onto your loyalty. It's not about truth, it's about control. That question can make you feel like the bad guy, like you're the one creating the problem simply because you're trying to protect yourself or because something didn't sit right. It can make you question whether you're overthinking or being too sensitive or maybe even sabotaging something good. That's the power of emotional manipulation. It doesn't come in shouting or accusations. It comes wrapped in softness and language that sounds reasonable. But here's the thing. Trust is not something that's owed simply because of time or title or proximity. Trust isn't a gift we give blindly to avoid uncomfortable conversations. Trust is built and rebuilt through consistent, honest behavior over time. And when someone uses "don't you trust me" as a defense, they are sidestepping the responsibility of earning that trust. You don't build trust by demanding it. You build it by being truthful, by showing up in integrity, and by welcoming accountability without fear. So when someone says, "don't you trust me," and they say it not from a place of reflection, but from a place of trying to silence you, that's not about repairing the relationship. It's about preserving their comfort. That question is particularly painful because it triggers a part of us that wants to be good, wants to be fair, wants to show that we believe in others. But being good doesn't mean abandoning your gut. Being fair doesn't mean denying your boundaries. And believing in others doesn't mean ignoring your own experience. Trust that's real can survive questions, it can survive discomfort, it can survive being challenged because trust is strong. But when someone makes you feel small or guilty for simply needing clarity, that's not trust. That's fear dressed up as connection. So the next time you hear, "don't you trust me," take a breath. Ask yourself, has this person shown me trustworthiness, or are they just asking for it to avoid being honest? Are they earning it, or are they expecting it because they think they're entitled to it? You don't owe anyone blind trust. You owe yourself the courage to ask the hard questions and the wisdom to know when an answer is being avoided. There's a particular kind of question that shows up when someone feels exposed, not because they're ready to tell the truth, but because they're trying to protect a lie. And it often sounds like this: "who told you that?" At first glance, it might seem harmless, maybe even curious, but the truth hiding underneath that question is rarely about understanding, it's about control. When someone asks, "who told you that?" their tone might sound calm or even concerned, but the intention is almost never about getting to the heart of the issue. Instead, it's about figuring out how the truth slipped through the cracks. It's about locating the leak, not repairing the damage. And that is a huge red flag. People who are honest don't panic when the truth is mentioned. They don't scramble to figure out who said what. They lean into the moment and offer their own version of what happened with humility and openness. But someone who's been caught in a lie doesn't ask how you're feeling or what hurt you. They ask who exposed them. That's not remorse. That's strategy. This question can feel jarring because it changes the direction of the conversation so quickly. One minute you're sharing how something didn't feel right or that you discovered a gap between what they said and what's real, and the next minute you're being interrogated like you broke some unspoken rule. Suddenly it's not about what they did, it's about who you're talking to. The truth becomes secondary. What matters more to them is managing the fallout And that's the key to understanding this question. It's not a sign that someone wants to take accountability. It's a signal that they want to protect their image, their control, and their version of the story. They want to figure out how much you know, who else knows, and whether they can still steer the narrative in their favor. In some cases, they'll follow up the question with anger or guilt tripping. I can't believe you'd listen to them, or, they've always had it out for me. These tactics are not about reconnection. They're about discrediting the source of the truth so they can keep you in the dark a little longer. But here's the reality. You are allowed to gather information. You are allowed to question things that don't add up, and you are absolutely allowed to protect your sources, especially if you feel that revealing them would put someone else in harm's way, emotionally or otherwise. When someone cares more about who told you than what hurt you, that's not love, that's not friendship, that's not leadership. That's ego and manipulation working overtime to keep control. So if you ever hear who told you that, take a moment before you answer. Ask yourself if this person has shown patterns of defensiveness, secrecy, or blame. Ask yourself if they're interested in the truth or if they're just interested in burying it, because your safety, your peace, and your clarity are more important than preserving someone else's comfort at the cost of your own. There is a moment that comes after someone has lied or broken trust, and they don't want to face what they've done. So instead of taking responsibility, they look at you with tired eyes and say, "Can't we just move on?" At first, it sounds reasonable, even mature. It sounds like they're trying to restore peace, like they want to let go of the drama and return to normal. But if you've ever been on the receiving end of that question, you know the truth is rarely that simple. "Can't we just move on?" is often not a call for healing. It's a plea for silence. It's an attempt to fast forward through the part where they have to sit with what they've done and how it affected you. It's a shortcut around accountability disguised as emotional maturity. And it works especially on people who are wired to forgive quickly, who struggle with confrontation, who just want things to feel okay again. But healing doesn't happen in silence. It doesn't happen when pain is rushed or brushed aside. Healing requires acknowledgement and truth and space to feel what needs to be felt. When someone says, "Can't we just move on?" they're not really asking you to heal with them. They're asking you to heal around them without their participation, without their ownership, and without their discomfort. And that is not healing, that's suppression. That's stuffing your feelings down just to maintain the illusion of harmony. That's letting someone else's desire for comfort outweigh your need for closure. This question puts pressure on you to be the bigger person, to let it go, to stop making a scene. But here's what's important to understand. Moving on doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It doesn't mean skipping the hard conversation or pretending you're not hurt. It means processing fully so that when you do let go, you're not carrying resentment, confusion, or self-doubt. When people say, "Can't we just move on," without ever saying, "I'm sorry," or "I understand why this hurt you," what they really mean is, "Can we just go back to the version of us where I didn't have to face my behavior?" And that is not fair. That is not love. That is not growth. You are allowed to need time. You are allowed to ask questions. You are allowed to not be ready to move forward just because someone else is tired of being uncomfortable. Real relationships, the kind that are built to last, are strong enough to hold space for pain. They don't run from it. They don't avoid it. They lean into it even when it's messy and especially when it's hard. So the next time you hear, "Can't we just move on?" pause and ask yourself if they're truly inviting healing or just asking you to forget. Don't let someone else's urgency to avoid accountability rush you through your own process. You are not too sensitive for needing to talk about it. You are not holding a grudge just because you're still hurting. You are human, and your pain deserves respect, not dismissal. There is a particular kind of question that stings not because it's loud, but because it's quiet, because it slides under your skin and makes you question your own emotional reality. And that question is, why are you making such a big deal out of this? It doesn't come across like a threat. It doesn't sound like an insult. Its purpose is to shrink you. It's meant to make you second guess your feelings. And it often succeeds because it's subtle. When someone asks, "Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" they are not trying to understand your perspective. They are not trying to meet you where you are emotionally. They are trying to minimize what happened. They are trying to make you feel that your reaction is too much, and by extension, that you are too much. That question is designed to create shame and confusion. It makes you wonder if maybe you did overreact. Maybe you misunderstood. Maybe you should have kept quiet. And if you are someone who has ever been told you are too sensitive or too emotional or too dramatic, then this question digs even deeper. It touches an old wound and brings it back to life. But here's what you must remember. Your feelings are not wrong just because someone else is uncomfortable with them. Your reaction is not too much just because someone else is unwilling to take responsibility for their actions. The size of your reaction often reflects the size of the hurt. And if someone hurt you, whether intentionally or not, it is not up to them to decide how deeply it impacted you. The phrase, "Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" is not about solving anything. It's about escaping. It's about deflecting. It's about making you feel like the problem. So the real issue never gets addressed. And when that happens over and over again, you begin to internalize that message. You begin to believe that keeping the peace is more important than speaking your truth, that your comfort must always come second to theirs. But that's not connection. That's emotional dismissal, that's gaslighting in its softest form. People who care about you will care about what matters to you, even if they don't fully understand it. They will lean in, not pull away. They will say things like, "Help me understand why this hurt," or "I didn't see it that way, but I want to get it now." Not, "Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" So if you've ever heard that question and started to shrink, stop and remind yourself that your emotions are valid, your experience is valid, and if it was a big deal to you, then it's a big deal, full stop. Don't let anyone talk you out of your own truth. Don't let anyone reduce your pain to an inconvenience. Their unwillingness to face the impact of their behavior is not a reason for you to carry the weight of silence. Speak up even when your voice shakes. Stand firm even when they call you difficult, because difficult doesn't mean wrong. It often just means honest, and honesty is always worth protecting. So let this be your reminder. Trust is not built through pressure, guilt, or confusion. It is built through honesty, consistency, and the courage to face hard truths together. When someone uses questions to twist reality or shift blame, they're not protecting the relationship, they're protecting their image. You deserve to feel safe in your truth, strong in your boundaries, and confident in your intuition. You are not too much for asking for clarity. You are not unkind for needing accountability, and you are not wrong for refusing to trust someone who hides behind questions instead of standing in truth. Walk forward with your eyes open and your voice steady, knowing that real connection never asks you to abandon yourself.